Welcome Diecast fans, I'm Tom Spanners Watson.
And I'm Frank the Guru Gibbs.
And it's time for your DRN report. Now, we talk about this all the time, not just with our channel, but any of the channels you see tonight. If you enjoy their videos, make sure to like them, leave a comment, and remember to subscribe to the channels. It doesn't cost you anything.
There's a new series coming up from a couple of regulars. It's called the YDS, or YouTube Diecast series. WeRaceDiecast, Commotion Diecast, EP videos, and Transport Diecast. Check that one out. There's details coming up soon.
Now, speaking of multi-track tournaments, the DIRS has been absolutely huge. Thank you so much to the 7 other tracks that have been involved so far. We're halfway through Flat Rabbit, and it'll be finishing off at Chaos Canyon very soon. Make sure you to subscribe to those channels and check out the playlist so you can see all the races in order.
We get asked a lot about how do you get into these reports. There's a link in the description, or you can just type in the link that's showing on screen now. Go to that forum, post a link to your channel if you're the track owner. That gives us permission to use your video, and you only need to post in there once. We keep a list of all of those tracks, and we check all those channels each time we do a report.
And time for a quick shameless plug. We really appreciate everyone that's bought merch from us so far. If you want to get your hands on some, head over to chaoscanyonmerch.online. Alright, straight into drag racing. We're going to kick off with miniature car racing. So again, not a traditional straight drag, but I like the way it loops around and comes back to the wide track.
Now, DAE Diecast, this is just straight up drag racing, nice and simple, nothing too fancy, but a good slow-mo at the finish line so you can really see who won.
Gravity Track Grand Prix celebrated 100 subs, so congratulations guys. I know it's a milestone that a lot of us, when we start, it's a big one to get past. So they celebrated with a bit of a Mario Kart drag race and some carnage there.
Red Pill Racing did a Nomad stock versus custom, so it goes through building the car and everything. Check that one out.
Irons Diecast did a 2-lane drag strip, but with that curve.
Is that a 3D printed curve?
I'm not quite sure, but it looks really cool.
Blue Line Racing did a grudge match between Biff Kirby and Scoop Divley, and these boys were hoofing.
Robbie from D64 did something a bit different, a little bit like Scorpio Love Smith did a while ago. It was go pick a ride and run it up against him on an outdoor track. Very cool.
For your daily Diecast Drag Racing fix, make sure you check out Hot Wheels Calgary.
Hawkeye Hauler Diecast did a monster truck hill climb drag race, which is a little bit interesting as well.
Now, Mr. Mom's Racing continued on with the finals of their Golf brand drag race, and it was epic. I mean, these two cars absolutely blazed down that monster long track, and as always, we just love all the camera angles these guys get. It's so entertaining.
Extreme Diecast Racing, more clean, straight up drag racing action, and again, a good slow-mo at the finish line, which of course is what you need when some of these races are close, even though that first car there was way out in front.
And finally, we've got Bay City Diecast. We're finishing up the Dynasty of Dodge tournament, so this was this monster long drag race, a lot of fun there.
Heading into the tournaments, we mentioned the DIRS, and it was halfway through at Flat Rabbit, so they've had 2 weeks there. That's groups 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and there has been some awesome racing action. Absolutely love the channel, love this track. It's got some great twists and turns, and there was some incredible overtakes. You'll see one of them in the replays. We had to save it for that. But congratulations to everyone so far, and remember, in 2 weeks time it launches at the Canyon for the big finale, so that is the end of 8 months worth of racing.
Alright, Monster Motorsports, we're into the Race of the Rising Sun tournament, and again, some awesome action on this track. Monster Motorsports, of course, part of the DIRS. They were track number 2 in the series, so if you haven't seen them, definitely check them out.
Now, Sub 4RA back into it again, and I love this race here. Look at the carnage right at the start. The grey car gets right out in front and then flips over, and you'll see it here in this replay. There's a really tight group. They get a little bit squirrely up front. The white car gets pitted out, the black car comes through, and then the grey one streaks through the inside and then blows it.
Right, Alley Cat Racing Club with their Garden Canyon run. I like this move here. This bright yellow car does this 360 and then lines himself up really nicely for the drop, but then blows it at the other end of it.
So it was the did not qualify tournament for the hatchbacks competition over at WeRaceDiecast, another track from the DIRS. If you haven't seen his channel, definitely go and check it out. And they've got that other YDS tournament that we mentioned coming up soon as well.
Indiana Diecast Racing, after 5 months of racing on his track, he was down to the finals for the Sock Hop Slam. So this has been an absolutely huge tournament. Over 170 cars have raced on this track. Awesome job, and I love this finish here with that Chevy just getting shut out right at the last minute.
Meal Ticket Raceway are still showing videos. That's because they had pre-recorded a bunch of racing. If you missed the last report, we talked about the fact that someone had crashed into that garage riding off a custom motorbike and a custom Hot Wheels car and absolutely just destroying the track, which is just heartbreaking for them.
Mike over at RTR has been running the losers bracket for the Nissan tournament, and this thing has been huge. There's some massive races. It's all one and done, so it's super quick and really entertaining. You definitely want to go over and have a look at that one.
Now, Top Driver, we're into another tournament here, and you've got this Porsche way out in front, pulls a 180 and then storms over the finish line. But you may have missed the green Mercedes that you'll see it in this replay. Look at this, drives up on the side, somehow got himself back down without crashing. It was quite impressive.
Now over to Wallside and their Formula Series. This one here, there's that huge accident in behind, but then somehow they got back on their wheels, and then all 4 cars got on their wheels. It was a DNF unfortunately, but it was still quite entertaining.
Next Gen Diecast continued on with the Piston Cup racing. So if you haven't seen that series, you definitely want to check it out. It's really interesting, and again, really nice production values and great looking track over there.
Gwingalio, I just love this new track and I love the new lighting. It looks so good. And the track's really interesting with a few dips and drops, and I like that whole theme that they've applied to it. Awesome stuff, love it.
Campbell Creek Run, more racing action over this young fella's channel. Again, just so impressed. Keep up the good work, you're doing awesome.
Rick's Diecast Racing. So he's got this more permanent setup for his track now and racing more and more cars on it, and there's some just really good quality racing there. I really like the twisty turny track.
Zelda Diecast Racing. Now this track is really interesting. It's laned the whole way, but he's got a couple of crossovers. And check out how close this racing is. The lead swaps backwards and forwards all the way to the finish. It was fantastic.
Diecast Dude Racing. I love this Lego track. And I know, Spanners, you got a soft spot in your heart for anything Lego.
I sure do.
And again, just lots of fun action on this track.
DDR with his short and brutal track here. I don't know what happened with that yellow car. It just got caught up in that first corner.
And then Marcus Figorn is into his Formula Special. So this particular race series is going to run across 3 different tracks, and it was his turn to kick it all off.
Okay, we're going to head into street racing now, and we're going to kick off with the Outlaws. This week it was a bit different. Instead of doing head-to-head racing, we did a time trial, and Mr. Dark, one of the wannabes, came out on top, so he has earned a shot at the list outside of a normal run.
Now, 3D Botmaker is into his next round of King of the Mountain, and check this out. These were all vans and a pickup truck, and that van way out in front, and he just rolls it, blows his lead completely.
Did you say load or lead?
I'm pretty sure I said lead.
Commotion Diecast, more street racing, and another van. Thankfully for this guy, he actually did a lot better than the van we just saw over at 3D's track. The vans do seem to struggle on this Crash Races track, I think because the corners are so banked and the vans are so high, they just have a tendency to tip over.
Diecast Draggor, some good action here. Look at this, the car gets flipped over, and then the car that was in the back zips through nicely, takes the win.
More head-to-head racing over at MNM Diecast. I really enjoy that little crossover at the start, and then it just evens up the corners so they've got a nice clean run down to the finish.
This probably should have actually gone into the Track Spy section, but this is the new shorty track over at Hot Car Track. Simon's built 2 awesome tracks, and he's launching the shorty first, and he was also doing time trials with all of his road warriors.
Now, EP Videos, these guys are part of the YDS tournament that we mentioned earlier, and as always, fantastic production values on this channel, and some good racing action, and I like that they do something a little bit different to everybody else.
Yeah, it just looks amazing. I love all that neon lighting.
And of course he has a very unique scoring system, which is nice to see as well.
Finally, 164 Underground Diecast Racing. Some good action on this track this week. And I love that they've just extended it that little bit, just to give the cars a bit more of a run as well. And that dude just totally smoked that red car.
Now moving into special events, we're going to kick off with the Rocky Road over at Chaos Canyon. And man, this was fun.
Well, fun and brutal.
Yeah, now Arlo and Rubber Toe have put on some fantastic shows on the stadium track, and they were at it again this week. Rubber Toe, they're trying to take out Arlo, but Arlo with his suspension in that Audi out in front, look how well it handles that rough course.
Yeah, it was very impressive. Now speaking of rough, Tune Trax had Mr. Paducah and Swivel Hip Sammy racing their shopping carts and taking them over the jump, and that was brutal. Check this one out with Swivel Hip Sammy. Absolutely gets nailed out of the cart, and then the cart comes down for added insult, runs over him.
Oh man, that's harsh. And speaking of harsh, we've got the Stone Road Challenge over at Beaverworx, and you know that we love a good Stone Road Challenge. This beast of a long wheelbase truck was slow, but man, it just powered through the whole course. Nothing was going to hold it back from finishing.
The Stone Road is so cool, and I love that it's so unique out of all of the tracks out there. 3D Botmaker was doing his rally course this time with trucks, and as we're expecting, a few of the trucks tipped over because they do tend to be a little bit higher, and just like the vans, they struggle on that crash races track. But this one out in front did a great job and got some really good air right at the end there.
Checkered Flag Contention, interestingly, were doing a shopping cart thing, but they didn't use Mr. Paducah or Swivel Hip Sammy. They were actually running groceries in there, so they had little Lego groceries, and it was whoever could get to the finish line with the most.
That's classic. Gravity Throttle Racing, absolutely love this rally track, such a good challenge, and I love seeing 4 cars on it. It gets really tight, but man, there's some awesome action. And I love that little drift that lead car did into the snake pit there, and then a very nice run down through the egg beater into the finish with a big power slide over the finish line just for a bit of class.
Now, Dynamic, or DYNMQ if you're looking for the link in the description, proving you don't need to have an expensive setup to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. DRC continued on with their relay race, and this particular one here, you see this Mustang, the yellow Mustang here, he gets ahead, gets a really good lead, but then gets up on this medium barrier, rides the rail down, you think that's it, he's done, but he manages to unstick himself and then jumps beautifully across the finish line, takes the win. It was really impressive stuff.
Now, Junkyard Joust did something a bit different for them. It was a head-to-head. That was brutal. Look at the air that guy gets.
Oh man, that is awesome.
I know, right? It's just classic. And there was some massive carnage with cars getting broken up there.
Now, it's over to Hot Wheels Fun at Home, and they were doing the corkscrew again, but this time trying to get the Deadpool food truck, which is quite impressive. It's a heavy beast and rubber tired.
Trax by Norman Verne Racing were doing a 50-foot drag race outside. I'm actually really surprised there wasn't a huge group of neighbours standing around watching, because that looks really entertaining.
Or maybe there was, maybe he just made them stand in behind the camera. And Poverty Hollow, we've featured them before, but if you look carefully, they've added quite a few new pieces. And when I say new, they're actually vintage Hot Wheels laned tracks. It's really nice. So keep an eye out on that one. He'll be coming back soon.
Now, a new one that we just heard about, Thunder Mountain Raceway, and the channel is Plays Inc. This is looking like it's going to be a really cool track.
Yeah, that's awesome. It looks like they're using some of that Kmart Crash Races track with those little jumps there.
It certainly looks like those tracks that we bought. We really must test those out at some stage as well. We're going to go into replays of the week, and we're going to start with a couple of accidents at the canyon. So the Rocky Road was definitely rough, but check this one out. This is the Jimmer coming through, and he lands perfectly between all of the spectators and that lady there just fainting. And then we've got Draggor coming through, who just loses control after landing from the jump, bounces across the track, comes back across the other side and mows the spectators down like he's mowing the lawn.
Yeah, it was brutal. Look at this, he slides across, takes out about 10 or 15 of the spectators. It was really harsh.
Yeah, but luckily we had lots of angles to cover all of the carnage, because, you know, that's what's really important.
This was one of the races we were talking about before. This is in Group 3 and 4 of the DIRS over at Flat Rabbit. Check this out. These two go absolutely door to door, head to head for half of the track all the way down to the finish. And it was so close.
Man, that was such a good race. Absolutely loved it. Now we jump back to Junkyard Joust. We thought the other guys got high. Check out the height of that accident.
Oh man, that is brutal.
I know, I absolutely love it. It was just so much fun. And honestly, he had one car basically just explode from the energy of the impact.
164 Underground Diecast Racing, and I've never seen two cars crash quite like that before on that first corner.
And then finally, we've got RTR Diecast Racing League. This finish here, the dude drifts wide, hits the bushes, and almost blows his lead. But luckily for him, he manages to cross the line first and take the win. We mentioned before, make sure you head over to redlinederby.com. It's got all of your racing information, a great place to enter your own races, look for other races to enter, and of course, if you're a track owner, get your track listed for the DRN reports. Alright, that's enough for tonight. I'm Tom Spanders Watson, he's Frank the Guru Gibbs. We'll see you next time.